villager's house! I wonder what's inside! Oh, hi there, Mr. Villager! Do you have anything to trade with me? Oh, you do? Oh my god!
Here are some of the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns ever recorded. This speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see a villager's house right next to them. So the first thing the speedrunner does is go into the village and start stealing all of the crops from the villagers. Now that the speedrunner has a decent amount of food, they then head over to the blacksmith. They open the door and inside the chest is some normal loot, like a piece of iron, 3 emeralds, a saddle, and a revolver. Last time I checked, there weren't guns inside of Minecraft, but I could have just missed an update. Well, the speedrunner takes this very legit loot out of the chest and leaves the blacksmith. They begin showing off their very cool looking revolver, which honestly looks pretty big. The speedrunner then runs around a little bit until they suddenly pick up a stone pickaxe. The stone pickaxes don't just randomly spawn on the ground like that. So I feel like the speedrunner just went inside a creative and placed down the pickaxe before the speedrun even started. The speedrunner then finds a patch of gravel and they begin mining it. But the speedrunner just doesn't have dream luck, so they get no gravel. So they have to place down more gravel and then break it until they eventually get a flint. They then use that flint and the iron that they got from the blacksmith to make themselves a flint and steel. Now that the speedrunner has a flint and steel, they go down the mountain some more until they find this weirdly looking square, which actually kinda looks like a door. The speedrunner breaks directly in the middle, and that's when they find a nether portal, which for some reason is already lit, which means that the speedrunner didn't even need to make themselves a flint and steel in the first place. Well, the speedrunner goes into the portal. Now that the speedrunner is in the nether, they look around for a little bit until they find a fortress, which means that the speedrunner got a pretty lucky nether spawn. The speedrunner then tries building up, but a piglin tries to stop them. But the speedrunner is too good at PvP and kills the piglin, which drops a golden sword. The speedrunner finds this weirdly dug out hole, so they drop down into it, which leads them right to the fortress. Not only that, but there's also a chest in the fortress. The speedrunner opens the chest and finds a shield, an iron sword, an iron chestplate, and iron leggings, which are all things that typically do not spawn inside of fortresses. Well, either way, the speedrunner takes all of that loot and begins to explore deeper inside of the fortress. Eventually, the speedrunner finds a blaze, so they just kill the blaze, but there's also a spawner here. But blaze spawners don't just randomly spawn inside of fortresses, so I think that the speedrunner just placed down this spawner here. Well, either way, the speedrunner kills the blazes, but then a random cut happens, and the speedrunner suddenly loses an entire level, and all of their items are mixed around, which leads me to believe that the speedrunner died, but just simply cut it out to make it look like they actually didn't die. The speedrunner tries to kill some more blazes, but they are running low on food very fast, so they begin making their way back towards the portal, and that's when they just simply leave the nether. Now that the speedrunner is back in the overworld, they go around the village a lot trying to look for some food, and that's when they find some pigs inside of a pen, so they just start killing them and eating their food. But wait, I just realized that the speedrunner somehow has 11 blaze rods. But if you look at the footage from before, the speedrunner definitely did not have 11 blaze rods, which means at some point during the speedrun, they must have given themselves some blaze rods when no one was looking. But this is also when the speedrunner opens up their inventory and we can see that they have tons of ender pearls. But not once inside of the speedrun did we ever see them gain any ender pearls, so I'm honestly very confused. The speedrunner then turns their blaze rods into blaze powder and makes themselves some eyes of ender. But instead of throwing the eyes of ender like a normal speedrunner would inside the situation, they instead start traversing down a mountain. They then grab some hay. They also look directly into the eyes of this enderman, but for some reason the enderman just didn't attack them. The speedrunner then finds a giant cave, so they jump down into some water. They then 1v1 this creeper until it blows up, and the speedrunner finds an end portal. I could have sworn the end portals usually spawn inside of strongholds, not just inside of random caves. Well, the speedrunner places in their eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they're faced with a severe problem. Their platform is way too high up, and the speedrunner is only on 5 hearts. And I honestly don't think there's any way for them to jump down onto the island without dying. So if they die, I think everyone should probably subscribe. Well, the speedrunner has no option but to just simply jump, and that's exactly what they do, but they just die. So I guess that means that every everyone has to subscribe. The speedrunner starts by immediately building themselves a nether portal. Once in the nether, they're right above a fortress. And for some reason in the fortress is an enderman. The speedrunner kills the enderman, but then suddenly there are two blazers trying to kill the speedrunner. Wait, what? Mario, where did you come from? Okay then? The speedrunner uses their ender pearl, and Mario uses the blaze rods, and they throw them in the air to create an eye of ender. Once the speedrunner gets to the stronghold, they place in the eyes of ender and enter the end. They also instantly kill the ender dragon by throwing a sword at its face. And that's how the speedrunner wins the speedrun. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I am super duper close to 30,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would honestly make my entire day. This speedrun starts pretty normal with the speedrunner immediately mining a tree. They mine 4 logs when they suddenly dig straight down and find a chest. But listen to the reason why the speedrunner dug down in the first place.
Alright, I think that's enough wood. I'm gonna go mine for some stone now. Oh wait, a chest? I was not expecting a chest to be here.
Yeah, apparently they were trying to mine some stone but accidentally found the chest. I don't know if I believe them because I don't think random chests spawn here in the first place. But the speedrunner opens the chest and finds an iron pickaxe. So they take the iron pickaxe and build out of the hole. That's when the speedrunner realizes that they spawned right next to a village.
Oh, and I'm right next to a freaking village. This is the most luckiest spawn ever.
So the speedrunner heads towards the village and they enter the first house, which has a barrel. But for some reason, the barrel has nothing inside of it. And the speedrunner says this.
Ooh, a barrel? Well, let's see if this barrel has anything inside of it. Oh, nothing? Okay, wait a minute.
They exit the barrel, then reopen it, and there's suddenly full diamond armor inside of the barrel. Which I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how the heck they did that. And this is the speedrunner's excuse for there being full diamond armor inside of that barrel.
I think the full diamond armor was just glitched, so that's why it wasn't in there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a glitch. Speedrunner then goes inside of some houses and steals some beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. The speedrunner finds some hay bales and starts mining them, which I honestly thought they were gonna use for food, but the speedrunner says this instead.
We're also gonna need some hay bales for the hay bale clutching.
Apparently he's gonna use the hay bales for hay bale clutching, so I think this speedrunner doesn't even realize that you can use hay bales for food as well. Well, right after this, we can see a wandering trader inside of this village. Now, at first, this might not seem like a big deal, until you realize that wandering traders only spawn after 14 days of the world being up, which is like 2 hours in real time. So the speedrunner just started the world, there should be no reason that there's a wandering trader here. The speedrunner then finds a ruin portal, and if you've ever seen a ruin portal before, you know that this is not a real ruin portal. Because not only is the ruin portal already finished, there's also no lava or magma blocks. But the speedrunner opens a chest and finds a flint and steel. So they light the nether portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they look around and find a hole filled with striders, which has gotta be the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen. But then the speedrunner suddenly says this.
Them silly striders. Well, I'm gonna need some gold to trade with the strider.
Yeah, apparently they're gonna need some gold to trade with striders. Even though I thought the only way that you can trade with striders is if you give them a dragon egg. But maybe they added this in the newest update. The speedrunner then says they're just gonna simply mine some netherrack, and then this happens.
Well, I'm just gonna mine for some netherrack so I can try to find gold. Oh, gold? Oh my god, right behind the netherrack? That's so lucky, and there's so much gold.
Yeah, apparently there's just random gold blocks behind this netherrack, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't believe that for a single second. Well, there was a lot of gold blocks, so the speedrunner now has like over 100 gold ingots, and they drop an entire stack on the striders. The speedrunner then says they're gonna leave.
Alright, I'll be right back. You guys better have the goodest trades ever but when I get back.
And when they come back, something strange happens.
Alright guys, I'm back. Let's see if you guys have any good trades for me. Oh my goodness, 27 eyes of ender? You guys are so nice, thank you.
The striders gave them 27 eyes of ender, which I didn't even know was possible. But the speedrunner goes back to the portal and leaves the nether. Once they're back in the overworld, they throw their eye of ender to try to find where their stronghold is. They then find this normal looking tree and say this.
Oh wait a minute, that is a cool looking tree over there. I'm gonna check if there is a stronghold beneath the tree because I feel like it.
Oh, I swear to God, if there is a stronghold beneath this tree, I'm actually going to flip. Well, they dig straight down next to the tree and find an end portal.
Oh my god, there is! That is so lucky!
Oh yeah, I'm sure that is so lucky, wow. Well, they just place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. But once you're in the end, for some reason, there are tons of Ender Dragons.
Oh no!
The spinner then tries critting out the Ender Dragons, but they're doing no damage, so they placed on the bed that they got from the village and just blow themselves up, and their reaction is priceless.
Take this bed! Oh.
And I'm pretty sure they just give up on the speedrun because it just ends here. The speedrun starts right next to a village. They immediately head into the village and just run in a straight line until they suddenly pick up an iron axe. But if we put the footage in slow-mo, we can see that the iron axe literally fell from the sky, which in case you couldn't tell is obviously not legit. The speedrunner then uses this iron axe to go inside of several of the villagers' houses and steal all of their beds, which is actually a good speedrunner strategy as they can use those beds to kill the Ender Dragon. Once they have 4 beds, they enter another house which has a chest, and inside of it is the most random loot I think I have ever seen. Like, what the heck is he gonna do with literally any of this? Well, the speedrunner takes all of this loot and then leaves the house. The speedrunner goes in 3rd person, and that's when they spot a cave. They enter the cave, which has a spawner with tons of chickens. Don't get me wrong, spawner rooms are a thing inside of Minecraft, they just never have chickens inside of them. Well, the speedrunner starts going on a chicken killing rampage, and that's when they realize that there's actually ender chests instead of normal chests. So speedrunner opens it and finds full netherite armor, which is obviously completely fake. Well, fake or not, the speedrunner takes all of the armor and the sword and kills more chickens. The speedrunner tries to leave the spawner room, but they have no blocks to get out. That's when suddenly their netherite sword easily breaks the cobblestone, which I didn't even know was a thing. They leave the cave and start exploring more of the village. But that's when they find this super duper long path. So of course the speedrunner follows the path, and as they're on the path, we can see this floating carrot. And it looks like whoever's holding the carrot is eating it apparently, until the carrot suddenly vanishes. Well, they ignore that and go down the path some more until they find this ruin portal. So the speedrunner goes up to the chest of the ruin portal and finds some pretty normal loot, other than the fact that there's an odd amount of obsidian here. The speedrunner takes the loot, and turns out that this obsidian was the exact amount they needed to finish the ruin portal. But I'm sure that the speedrunner just got extremely lucky. But they use the fire charge that they got from the ruin portal and light the nether portal. Once the speedrunner is in the nether, they find this extremely long red vine. So of course the speedrunner goes up the vine, and then even use their horn as they're climbing it. Once they get to the top, there's really nothing here. That's when tons of Eyes of Ender start falling from the sky, which I'm pretty sure I heard about was in the newest update. So believe it or not, this part is actually legit. The speedrunner then picks up all of the Eyes of Ender until they have 27 Eyes of Ender, which I'm pretty sure is more than enough Eyes of Ender. They then start heading down the vine and go back through the nether portal. Once they're back in the overworld, they throw their Eyes of Ender to see where the stronghold is. Wait, why are they going in the opposite direction? But the speedrunner just starts swimming in the water for some reason, and then they suddenly fall into a hole which has an end portal. Not only that, there are tons of signs with the most random things on the sign. Now, I'm not gonna read them all, but you can pause it and look at it, because these signs are just crazy. They place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they find this weird hay bale parkour, which I'm gonna be honest, looks pretty easy. But the speedrunner goes for the first jump and fails it. Wait, never mind, they made it. I think I just saw the footage wrong or something. They then do the rest of the parkour pretty darn easily until they get to the main island. Now, before we get into this dragon fight, I'm gonna be honest, this is the weirdest fight I've ever seen. Because, spoiler alert, the spinner doesn't hit the dragon a single time, but they somehow win the speed run by killing the Ender Dragon. Well, they start by just standing still and swinging at tons of end crystals, which for some odd reason just break. And they do this to literally every single end crystal in the entire end. Now, once all of the end crystals are broken, they do the same thing to the Ender Dragon. But the thing is, we can see a sword literally chasing the Ender Dragon down, hitting it over and over again. And even at one point, their potion effect wears off, and we can see this guy right inside of creative, just flying around smacking the ender dragon. They make themselves go back to being invisible. The speedrunner just keeps sitting there swinging as if they're actually hitting the ender dragon when they're clearly not. And eventually the ender dragon just dies and the speedrunner wins the speedrun. The speedrun starts inside of a savanna biome. And surprisingly, things are pretty normal. They look around to see if they have a good spawn and they don't really see anything. So they begin by mining a tree. They mine a few logs and turn those logs into planks. They then make themselves a crafting table and sticks and use a crafting table to make themselves a wooden pickaxe. They break their crafting table to take it with them, and that's when they find a ruined portal. But for some reason, the speedrunner turns around to start beating up this weird ball thingy, and then they actually decide to go to the ruined portal. The speedrunner opens the chest and finds some pretty normal loot other than the fact that there's a piece of iron inside here. And ruined portals never have iron, so this is actually pretty confusing. But they take the loot from the chest and use the flint and the iron to make themselves a flint and steel. They then place the 4 obsidian to block off the lava, and then they light the portal. Once they're in the nether, they look around and they realize that they got a terrible nether spawn. But then if I pause it right here, do you see anything suspicious? Cause I do. Alright, if you don't see it, it's actually this red thing that is just randomly placed all by itself. So the speedrunner goes right up to it, breaks it, and breaks the block beneath it to find a chest, which has tons of blaze rods and ender pearls. The speedrunner takes all of the loot and uses the blaze rods to turn into blaze powder and make themselves some eyes of ender. They then go back through the portal and start going in a random direction. That's where they find this stone wall that they randomly start mining for no reason. As they begin digging straight down, they find a hole which has a stronghold. Not only this, there's also a sign that says stronghold, just in case, you know, we couldn't tell it was a stronghold. Yeah. The speedrunner places in all of the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they realize that they're stuck in a box, so they use their wooden pickaxe to break out and use their extra ender pearl to throw it, and once it lands, the speedrunner starts heading towards the ender dragon. But that's when they come up with this absolutely 200 IQ play. They place their end stone in a weird shape that honestly makes me a little bit hungry. Wait, what? Where they go up to their thing that they made, and a very clear cut happens, and the ender dragon is now dead somehow, which of course isn't suspicious at all. Well, now that the ender dragon is dead, the speedrunner wins the speedrun, I guess. This speedrun starts inside of a spruce biome, and the first thing that the speedrunner does is run directly to a ship, which definitely isn't suspicious at all. Once they get inside the ship, they for some reason find a wither skeleton. I thought wither skeletons only spawn inside the desert where it's hot, not inside of a random ship. Well, the wither skeleton hits the speedrunner, so the speedrunner just keeps on beating up the wither skeleton until eventually it dies. The speedrunner then opens the chest and surprisingly finds some pretty normal loot, so they take most of the loot and exit the ship. But then for some reason, they go inside of their settings and just start turning on and off a bunch of random settings. Once they're done doing that, they immediately start digging straight down and find a chest. Now, I have a weird feeling that there are some suspicious items inside of this chest. And if I'm right, I think everyone should subscribe. Well, the speedrunner opens up the chest and finds tons of suspicious items. So I guess that means that everyone now has to subscribe. They take all of the iron, diamonds, and even the ender pearl and build out of the hole. They then, for some reason, just randomly throw their ender pearl, and once it lands, they're in the nether. Alright, this speedrun is definitely cursed. In the nether, we can find some weird path of just this random wood. So of course, the speedrunner follows the path, but some hoglins try and kill them. So he absolutely jukes the hoglins, and at the end of the path is just a normal tree. So the speedrunner starts mining the tree, and that's when the tree suddenly drops item frames and blaze powder, which in case you didn't know is completely fake. They keep on mining the tree and just keep on getting blaze powder. They eventually get 12 blaze powder and also 6 logs, which they use to make themselves a crafting table. They then use the crafting table to make themselves a diamond sword, diamond pants, and a full set of iron armor. They then begin to make their way back towards the portal and go back into the overworld. Once they're back in the overworld, they're in the middle of nowhere. So they just randomly go into the forest and wander around for a little bit until they find a village. But one of the houses inside the village looks a little bit weird. So the speedrunner enters this house and opens the chest to find tons of ender pearls. Okay, this speedrunner is cheating harder than my dad cheats on my mom. Wait, what? The speedrunner uses the blaze powder and the ender pearls to make themselves some eyes of ender. They then start stealing some potatoes from the villager's farm, and that's when they find a random end portal. Even though I could have sworn that end portals only spawn inside of strongholds, not inside of villages. Well, the speedrunner places in all of the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, things seem pretty normal. There's endermen, all the pillars look normal, and the wither is full HP. Wait, what? The wither? I thought the ender dragon spawns in the end, not the wither. Well, the wither goes around shooting everyone, and the speedrunner sees that the portal is wide open. So instead of killing the wither, the speedrunner just goes to the portal and beats the speedrun. The speedrunner starts just simply walking until they suddenly decide to break the roof with their wooden shovel. They break the roof, but then a skeleton shoots their bow at them, and the skeleton starts cranking 90s. So then Steve starts cranking 90s. The speedrunner then places down TNT and a pressure plate and launches the TNT to the skeleton, which ends up killing it, and the speedrunner wins the game. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I am super duper close to 30,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would genuinely make my day. This speedrunner starts right next to a village. So they immediately head right into the village and enter a house which has a chest. And inside the chest is surprisingly some pretty normal loot. So the speedrunner takes all of the loot, puts on the pants, and leaves the house. The speedrunner runs around and sees a ruined portal out in the distance. Which I'm not gonna lie, a ruined portal right next to a village is an insanely lucky spawn. But first the speedrunner grabs some wheat and go up to a house and start breaking the log, which they turn into planks to make themselves a crafting table. They then use that crafting table to make themselves some bread. Now that the speedrunner has tons of food, they then head towards the ruined portal, which is only missing a few obsidian. As the speedrunner gets closer, they open the chest and find 2 more obsidian, and also some pretty normal loot as well. Surprisingly, this speedrun doesn't seem too fake. Everything just seems really lucky. Well, the speedrunner can't place the obsidian because it's just way too high. So they then begin mining some grass, but then they run all the way back towards their crafting table, which they use to turn their iron nuggets into iron ingots. But they only have 1 iron ingot. But that's when we can suddenly see that there is some iron on the ground right here for some reason. So the speedrunner picks up the iron and uses it to make themselves an iron pickaxe. And not only that, but also an iron sword. They then head back towards the ruined portal and place in the obsidian and build up and place some more obsidian, which they coincidentally had the exact right amount, which could just be extremely lucky. But the speedrunner uses their fire charge that they got from the ruined portal chest to light the nether portal. They then enter the nether. But once they're in the nether, things are pretty weird because there are tons of nether portals, which I've actually never seen before. Where the speedrunner just walks past the nether portals except for this last one, which they end up just walking straight through and find 2 llamas. And behind the llamas is a piglin head with a chest and a sign that says Wandering PP Trader. Well, I've never heard of a wandering PP trader before, but it could have just been in the newest update. But the speedrunner opens the chest and finds tons of ender eyes. Oh my god, that is definitely not legit. Well, the speedrunner takes all of the ender eyes and starts making their way back towards their nether portal. Once they're back in the overworld, they start heading back towards the village, where they find a sign that says, "There's nothing in this hole, I pinky promise." Yeah, right. Well, the speedrunner goes into the hole and just sits there. Well, you know, I guess there actually is nothing in the hole. So the speedrunner just builds out of the hole and runs around the village some more, until the speedrunner finds this weirdly placed water. And inside the water is a secret tunnel, which for some reason has nothing inside of it. Well, the speedrunner for some reason goes into the marketplace, and they just start looking at cool dinosaurs, aliens, secret doors, and Star Wars. They click on this Star Wars thing and just look at it for a little bit until they suddenly go out of the shop and there's just an end portal here. I think the speedrunner was just trying to distract us while they magically placed an end portal here. Well, the speedrunner places in their very legit Eyes of Ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they jump to the island and start climbing this naturally generated staircase. Once they're on top of the island, they find a random ender pearl, so they just pick it up and throw it. And once it lands, they look around and there is just no ender dragon. And because of that, the speedrunner just goes to the portal and beats the speedrun. This speedrun starts in the desert, but they're right next to a desert pyramid. So they start heading over towards the pyramid, but also break some dead bushes on their way there for some sticks. But randomly, while they're on their way there, they break a block beneath this cactus and find a chest which has tons of ender pearls. They then use those ender pearls to get closer towards the pyramid, and once they're in there, they start breaking the block and jump down, but for some reason, there is no pressure plate, which I've actually never seen before inside of a pyramid. The speedrunner opens the first chest and finds some normal loot, but they open the second chest and find a decent amount of diamonds, but also a crafting table. I'm pretty sure crafting tables can't just randomly spawn inside of pyramids. They place down the crafting table and make themselves a diamond pickaxe. They then open the next chest and find tons of blaze powder. They take the blaze powder and open the next chest, which has nothing. Okay then. They then randomly break behind this wall and find a giant area with an end portal. So the speedrunner takes their ender pearls and their blaze powder to make themselves some eyes of ender. They place in the eyes of ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they find a path of beds, which has gotta be the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen. They go across the path of beds, and once they're at the main island, there's for some reason just no endermen, and there's also tons of random end crystals by the dragon. So the speedrunner blows up the crystals, which damages the dragon. But then the dragon heals super fast, so I think the speedrunner gets mad because a random cut happens, and they suddenly have strength. They then spend the next 30 minutes killing the ender dragon until eventually it dies and they win the speedrun. If you enjoyed that video, you should probably click this video because this video is also pretty darn cool. This speedrun starts in a desert, and if we look on the right, we can see a desert pyramid. But wait, if we also look at their coordinates in the top left, we can see that they're not 0, 0, which means that this spawn is actually not legit. Well, the speedrunner begins to look around, and not only is there a pyramid, there's also a village. But guess what? There's another pyramid. So they expect us to believe that they spawn next to 2 pyramids and a village. That's gonna be the luckiest spawn I've ever seen. Well, the speedrunner runs to one of the pyramids, and once they're there, they dig down and loot the first chest, which has a diamond. They take the diamond, some gold, and some blocks, and then loot the second chest, which also has a diamond. They take the diamond, and guess what happens when they loot the third chest? They find another diamond. I'm sure the speedrunner is just extremely lucky because whenever they loot the fourth chest, they find another diamond, and also a golden apple. They build out of the pyramid and make their way towards the village. They go up to a house and look through the window where they can see a chest. But watch very carefully for what happens whenever they loot this chest. Did you see it? Well, whenever they were going towards the village, they only had 4 diamonds and 9 gold. But whenever they looted the chest that only had bread, they suddenly had 4 diamonds, 9 gold, 12 bread, and 2 ender pearls, even though the chest had no ender pearls inside of them. So if we rewind the footage, we can see that whenever they got to the village, they suddenly picked up 2 ender pearls, which in case you couldn't tell, is just not legit. Well, they started exploring more of the village. But wait, if we rewind the footage and pause it here, we can see what appears to be a polar bear inside of a hole. But the part that makes this extremely confusing is that polar bears only spawn in the nether, so a polar bear being in the desert literally makes no sense. This speedrunner starts going inside of several of the villagers' houses and breaking the beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. But inside of one of the houses, they find a chest which has some obsidian. They then make their way towards another house and find another chest which has even more obsidian. So now they have 6 obsidian, and to make another portal, you need a total of 10. But that's okay because the speedrunner enters another house and they find the last 4 obsidian that they need. But they also find some iron, which you know is definitely not fake. Well, before they make the nether portal, they find a crafting table and make themselves a diamond pickaxe. They then begin constructing themselves a nether portal, and once they complete it, they realize that they don't have anything to light the portal with. So they go inside the same house that they were in before and open the furnace to find a fire charge, which I don't even think I have to say this, but that is completely fake. Well, the speedrunner takes the fire charge and goes back towards the nether portal and lights it and then enters the nether. Once they're in the nether, some weird stuff starts happening because we can see this extremely long soul sand path. So of course the speedrunner starts going across the path, and I'm gonna speed up the footage because this path is extremely long. And when I say long, I mean long. Well, the path leads them to a fortress where they find some blazes. So the speedrunner fights the blazes, but wait, did you see that? Every single time they hit the blaze, it didn't move at all. It just stayed inside the same exact spot. But you know, maybe it's just a glitch. Well, the speedrunner goes up to the next blaze, and they keep on hitting it from around the corner, but the blaze just does not move. And the same can be said about this blaze as well. So I think something fishy is going on here. Well, they kill the blazes until they have 2 blaze rods. They turn their blaze rods into blaze powder to make themselves 2 eyes of ender. But whenever you speedrun Minecraft, you usually get like 12 eyes of ender, not 2. But you'll see why they only need 2 later in the speedrun. They begin making their way back towards the nether portal, and after 8 years of walking, they finally make it. Once they're back in the overworld, they wander around for quite some time until they find a crafting table and they make themselves some iron boots. They then find this dead bush on the ground and for some reason start digging straight down below it, which you know isn't suspicious at all. They keep on digging straight down until they find themselves in the stronghold. Yeah, so you're expecting me to believe that the speedrunner spawned on top of the stronghold? Yeah, right. The speedrunner breaks the spawner and places in their 2 eyes of ender. But before they jump into the portal, they turn around and find this weird looking lava. How is the lava not flowing normally? I am so confused. Well, the speedrunner jumps into the portal, and once they're in the end, we can see that there's actually no enderman, which is very, very confusing because we saw blazes in the nether, which means they're not on peace peaceful mode. So the fact that there's no Enderman here is genuinely just confusing. The Ender Dragon hits the speedrunner several times and they actually get extremely low. Well, the speedrunner sets up a bed trap for the Ender Dragon, but before they can even blow up one bed, they die. And I think the speedrunner gets extremely mad because the speedrun just ends there. This speedrunner starts in a plains biome. They end up finding an iron golem and they kill it, even though iron golems only spawn inside of villages, and this is clearly not a village. They then begin mining a tree to make themselves a crafting table, which they use to give themselves a bucket. And then out of nowhere, a creeper comes and blows them up. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers and I'm not even halfway there, so if you could subscribe, that would genuinely mean the world to me. This speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see the very tip of a house right in front of them. The speedrunner makes her way into the village and starts mining a tree. They mine 1, 2, 3, 4 logs and make themselves some sticks and a crafting table. They find a pile of hay bales and make their way towards it and begin mining it. They mine 10 hay bales and begin running away, but wait, did you see that? They have a diamond in their third hotbar slot, but they were just mining wheat, so how the heck did they get a diamond? Well, if you look very carefully at this frame here, we can see a little bit of a diamond above the hay inside their hand, and as they got closer, they picked it up. But a diamond being on the ground randomly like this literally makes zero sense. Well, they begin heading towards the coast of the village until they suddenly start digging straight down, where of course they find a chest. Inside the chest is buried treasure loot, but buried treasure can only spawn beneath sand, and this chest was beneath dirt, making this not legit. But they take a lot of the loot and build out of the hole and place on their crafting table to turn their hay bales into wheat so they can have tons of bread. They also make an iron pickaxe, an iron sword, a shield, and golden pants. They begin exploring more of the village, and they find the iron golem, which they hit and try fighting the iron golem, but they're very clearly gonna lose, so they just run away. But they come back a little while later, and they build 3 blocks up so they can easily kill the iron golem, and they use that iron to make themselves an iron helmet. They then find a villager's house and enter it to find a chest, which has an odd amount of obsidian, but maybe they're just lucky. Well, they go in another villager's house to find even more obsidian, and they find another house which has more obsidian and a flint and steel, which allows them to make the nether portal. So they build themselves a nether portal and light it and enter the nether. Once they're in the nether, they wander around for a little bit until some hoglin things start attacking them, and the speedrunner is right on the edge, so if they get hit one more time, they're going to die. But the speedrunner turns around and jumps off the edge just to land on a vine. But wait, that vine is extremely long. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure vines don't grow to be that long. Well, they're now in the fortress, and they're right next to a blaze spawner. They start killing tons of blazes, and they even eat their enchanted golden apple. They eventually have 3 blaze rods, and they leave the nether. Once they're in the overworld, they run away from the village and just wander around for quite some time. That is until they find this weird red flower on the side of an island. So they dig directly beneath the flower until eventually they find themselves in the stronghold. So they turn their blaze rods into blaze powder and use their ender pearls to make themselves eyes of ender. But wait, are you realizing what I'm realizing? They used their ender pearls to make themselves eyes of ender. But not once in this entire speed run did we ever see them gain any ender pearls. So how could they have possibly gotten ender pearls? But they place in their 6 eyes of ender, which happen to be the exact right amount that they needed. They jump into the end portal, and once in the end, they are pretty high up from the island. They check their inventory for anything that they can catch their fall with, and they find a ladder. Even though once again, I don't remember them ever building a ladder. They grab the ladder and they see a block that they can possibly ladder clutch on. So they jump off the edge and they easily make the ladder clutch. I'm not gonna lie, that was very impressive. Well, they make their way closer to the portal, but wait, I don't see an ender dragon anywhere. So this end might just be glitched. Well, as they get closer, they find a sign that says, "The dragon is pooping." Well, I guess the ender dragon is just using the bathroom. So the speedrunner goes to the portal and beats the speedrun. This speedrun starts out pretty suspicious, because if you look down inside their hotbar, they are inside of their second hotbar slot, even though they're supposed to be in their first one. Not only this, their crosshair is off-centered with the tree in front of them, and you are always looking perfectly straight whenever you start a speedrun. So far, that is already 2 things that we can point out about the speedrun before it even started. The speedrunner immediately runs straight and begins mining the tree. And as the speedrunner is mining the tree, they say this.
Oh wait, there's an iron golem! Another iron golem! Another iron golem! Oh, my iron golem!
Yeah, for some reason inside of this village, there are an insane amount of iron golems. I honestly think they just placed down these iron golems themselves. But the speedrunner mines another log and turns their logs into planks, which they then use to make themselves a crafting table. And they use the crafting table to make themselves a sword. They then use this sword to start critting out the iron golems. But as we can see, the iron golem is not attacking them. This is because whenever you make an iron golem, it doesn't attack the person who made it. So because of this, the speedrunner speedrunner crits out tons and tons of iron golems and goes back to their crafting table to make themselves an iron sword. Now that they have an iron sword, try and guess what they're going to do. Well, if you guess that they were gonna kill some more iron golems, you're right, because they kill even more iron golems. Once they have 26 pieces of iron, they make themselves full iron armor. They then break their crafting table and even steal some potatoes from this farm. That's when they start heading in a complete random direction. After about 20 seconds, they find a ruin portal. Once they get closer, they open the chest and find surprisingly some pretty normal loot. That's when they suddenly break the chest and underneath it is another chest, which is genuinely very confusing. Inside the chest is a stack of obsidian, which is definitely real. The speedrunner takes the stack of obsidian, and what's about to happen next makes me convinced that the speedrunner never even went to kindergarten, because they have no idea what a normal rectangle looks like, because they tried building another portal, but of course they absolutely fail. So they try building another portal and they fail again. But it's okay because third time is a charm and they make the nether portal correctly. They then light the nether portal and enter the nether. Once on the nether, they say this.
Oh wait, I have to do something to find the fortress real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, apparently they have to do something to find the fortress, and that's when they suddenly go inside of creative. They then type inside chat /locate structure fortress, which gives them the exact coordinates to the closest fortress, which in case you couldn't tell is literally cheating. Well, now that they have the coordinates, they start flying over to the fortress until they finally make it.
Oh my god, the fortress is right here!
Now that they're in the fortress, they put themselves back into survival and say this.
Alright guys, I cut it out, but we are now in the fortress.
Well, apparently they were supposed to cut out them going inside of creative, but I guess they forgot. The speedrunner starts going around the fortress, and I genuinely think they're lost. At one point, they even walk past two of these piglins and say this.
That was pretty good, my thing.
Yeah, apparently those piglins are in the speedrunner's gang, I guess. And the speedrunner goes around the fortress for another 10 minutes, and they are struggling to find the blaze spawner. That's when they turn their game mode into spectator and say this.
Where the heck is the thingy?
Yeah, they're looking for the thingy, which I'm guessing is the blaze spawner. Eventually, they find the blaze spawner, and they just start randomly punching the blaze spawner with their sword.
Hiya, 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 hiya.
And that's when they look over the edge and say this.
What the heck?
What the heck I thought? I think they tried to place down a chest or something here, but it's for some reason gone. That's when the speedrunner realizes that they're at the wrong blaze spawner. So they go back into spectator mode and finds the other blaze spawner and says this.
Alright guys, now I'm at the spawner thing.
They then start punching the blaze spawner again. And then they look over the edge and find a chest.
Boom, I spawned to the chest because I hit the blaze spawner and it spawned a chest.
Yeah, they hit the blaze spawner and it spawned a chest. Okay, I don't know. I'm so confused. Well, they open the chest and find some blaze rods. So, of course, the speedrunner takes all of the blaze rods, and then they say they're gonna go back towards the portal.
Alright guys, now I'm gonna go back towards the portal.
So, of course, they turn their game mode back into creative, and as they're flying to find their portal, they find this innocent baby Strider and do this.
Oh, baby spider. Hiya, hiya,
Yeah, this speedrunner's definitely got some issues, I'm not going to lie. Eventually, they do find their portal, they then turn their game mode back into survival, and then they say this.
Alright guys, I made it to the portal. I didn't feel like showing it because it was super long. It was so hard to do it because I'm in survival.
Apparently, they cut it out where they went back towards the portal because it's super boring, and it's hard for them to get back because they're in survival. Yeah, let's just pretend we didn't see them going creative and fly over anything. That'd be weird. Well, the speedrunner goes into the portal. Now that they're in the overworld, they head back towards the village and start doing a bunch of completely random things. Like going inside of houses, opening the chests, but not taking anything. They even go inside of one of the houses, which has a birch staircase, which in case you could not tell, is not naturally generated. And that's when they go inside of creative and start digging a random hole for some odd reason. They then start flying in a completely random direction all of a sudden and say this.
I'm gonna fly over here because I feel like it.
Yeah, they're gonna fly over here because they feel like it. Yup, sounds good to me. They continue to fly over in this direction for about 5 minutes until they find a village. And inside the village is a giant pillar.
I did not place that there. I have no idea how I got there.
Yeah, I'm sure the speedrunner definitely did not place that there because they said they didn't, and we have to believe them. The speedrunner makes their game mode back into survival and then says this.
Alright guys, guys, I'm still inside of this same village.
For some reason, they said they're inside of the same exact village from before, but they're obviously not because we watched them fly for literally 5 minutes straight to a completely random village.
I'm gonna see what's inside. Oh, it's like a hole. What the heck? Where does it lead to?
Where does it lead to? Honestly, I'm asking the same question. I'm just gonna take a random guess and say, maybe it's the stronghold. It's just a random guess though, and you know, if I'm right, maybe you guys should probably subscribe. Well, the speedrunner goes inside a creative and then goes straight down the hole, and what do you know? They're in the stronghold. So I guess that means that everyone should, I don't know, probably subscribe. They then turn their game mode into survival, and they say this.
Oh, it's an egg portal. What the heck? Oh, no, wait. I don't have eyes of ender.
Yeah, the speedrunner doesn't have Eyes of Ender because they never killed any Endermen or traded with piglins to be able to get themselves some Ender Pearls. But don't you worry, because then this happens.
Where am I gonna find eyes of ender? Oh my goodness, a chest! Oh, ender pearls! That's exactly what I needed! I'm so lucky!
Wow, you're so lucky. I agree. I'm so proud of you. Yeah. I'm sick and tired of this speedrunner. Can this speedrun just end already? All right, well, the speedrunner takes the Ender Pearls and puts the Blaze Rods and the Ender Pearls inside their inventory, but for some reason, it's not creating Eyes of Ender. Yeah, this speedrunner literally has no idea how to even make Eyes of Ender. This is genuinely just embarrassing at this point. Eventually, they figure it out and place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they go to the middle island, and of course, they go back into creative. They then type inside chat /kill at E, which kills the Ender Dragon, and turn their game mode back into survival and says this.
Oh my god, guys, I killed the ender dragon! Yay! I cut it out because it was probably gonna be boring for you guys, so I didn't want you guys to be bored, so I cut out because the ender dragon.
Yeah, apparently them killing the Ender Dragon was gonna be boring for us, which is probably the most exciting part of an entire speedrun. But hey, that's just my opinion. Well, now that the Ender Dragon is dead, the speedrunner goes to the portal and wins the speedrun. This first speedrun starts right next to a desert village. So the speedrunner starts heading towards the village and begins breaking wheat for some bread. Once they get 8 hay bales, they enter a house which for some reason has a turtle, even though I'm pretty sure turtles only spawn inside of the end. So the fact that there's a turtle right here is a little bit suspicious. Well, they punch the turtle and then leave the house. They then enter another house, but wait, if we rewind the footage and stop it here, we can see that the door was already open. But if they started a new world, a door would not already be open because villagers always open and then close the door behind them. Well, the speedrunner goes into the house and breaks the beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. They then open the chest, which actually has some normal loot. They take the bread from the chest and leave the house. They make their way towards another house, which has a door that's already open. And once again, they take the beds and open the chest, and oh my goodness, why is there so much bread? Okay, well, they take all the bread and they now have 48 bread. I think that's enough food for a speedrun. They leave the house and wander around the village a little bit more until they enter a house which has a crafting table. They turn their hay bales into wheat and they now have over a stack of wheat. But for some reason, they only make 1 bread. Okay then. They leave the house and use their insane parkour skills to jump across this cave. And that's when they find another house. But if I pause it here, there is something very, very strange about this house. And if you didn't immediately see it, you need to get your eyes checked. Because the door is literally a spruce door. When if we look back at all the other houses, they were not spruce doors. Which if you ask me, is very, very strange. Well, the speedrunner enters this house and finds an iron pickaxe on the wall, which is actually legit and only has a 69% chance of spawning. They take the iron pickaxe and also take the bed and leave the house. They then jump into the cave and find a giant hole with some water. So they jump into the water and they find some gold. They mine the gold and find a nether portal? Okay. I didn't know nether portals could randomly spawn like this. But there is a problem. The speedrunner doesn't have a flint and steel. So how the heck are they possibly gonna light the nether portal? Wait, what? Did you guys just watch what I just watched? Yeah, I had to replay this like 11 times and I still have no idea how they did that. Well, now that the nether portal is lit, they enter the nether. And I'm warning you ahead of time, this nether goes crazy because they spawn in a random box. Not only that, there's also a sign that says not suspicious barrel. And right next to it is a barrel. So the speedrunner opens the barrel and finds tons of ender eyes. Oh my goodness, you don't even need that many ender eyes. Well, the speedrunner takes all of the ender eyes and leaves the nether. And now that they're back in the overworld, they realize that there is no way they're getting all the way back up because they have no blocks. So they turn around to go back into the nether. Wait, what are they doing? Oh my god, a ladder? The speedrunner climbs all the way up the ladder and breaks the sand at the top. And now they're at the surface of the cave. So they run run out of the cave, and that's when I thought that they were gonna go back into the village. But instead, they run in a completely random direction. They keep running in this area for quite some time until they find this. Yup, this is definitely legit. The speedrunner places in all of their Eyes of Ender, and now that they're in the end, we can see that the Ender Dragon has literally 0 HP. I don't even know how it's alive. But the speedrunner places a super cool bed trap, and eventually the Ender Dragon perches. And once it gets close enough, the speedrunner blows up the bed and wins the speedrun in record time. The speedrunner starts right next to an acacia village. They just wander around for a little bit until they start breaking every single bed inside the village. They then somehow one-hit the iron golem, which I didn't even know was possible until I realized that it was literally Shrek. So this part actually does make sense. They mine a tree and make themselves a crafting table to make themselves a bucket. They fill their bucket up with water and throw it at a lava pool, and now they have a nether portal? Once I saw this part, I knew the speedrun was fake. Oh wait, I just realized this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, guys, why didn't you tell me? If you guys could just do me a huge favor and just simply subscribe, that would genuinely make my entire day. This next speedrun starts right next to a ruined portal. So the speedrunner starts off by running towards the portal, and once they get there, they open the chest, and the chest has some normal loot, like obsidian, golden carrots, and several golden tools. You know, the normal loot. They take all of this loot, but wait, if we pause it right here, we can see that the sun in the background is setting, which only happens if the world has been up for at least 10 minutes. But we're literally only 20 seconds into the speedrun, which proves that the speedrun is going to be fake. Well, they start mining some netherrack for some blocks, they fill in the rest of the nether portal, and then use their blocks to get rid of the lava. They then use the fire charge to light the portal, and then they enter the nether. Once the speedrunner is inside of the nether, they go to a random corner and then suddenly start digging straight down. But their golden pickaxe breaks, so they have to mine the rest of the netherrack with their fist. And after 20 seconds of mining, they fall into a hole. And this is when they turn on their coordinates. They then begin walking around like the coordinates are actually telling them something, and then they go into a random corner and start digging straight down. And they find a chest, and inside of it is tons of blaze rods. Okay, there is no way the coordinates told them that there was a secret chest right there. The speedrunner takes all of the blaze rods, and they now have 27, which is a lot more than you would typically need for a speedrun. The speedrunner suddenly turns on their coordinates once again, and they walk around some more until they suddenly think that there's something else beneath them. So they dig straight down again and find another chest. But this time, there's ender pearls inside of the chest. Okay, let's be honest, guys. This speedrun is completely cursed, and they now have everything they need to be able to go to the end. So the speedrunner starts making their way all the way back towards their portal, and eventually they make it there. Now that they're in the overworld, they start running around back and forth for a little bit, trying to remember where to go. Eventually they figure it out and throw an ender pearl, and once it lands, they begin mining a tree. They get 6 logs and make it into a crafting table. They then use the crafting table to make themselves a boat, and they also make some doors. They place down their boat into the sea and then turn on their coordinates again, acting like they know what they're doing when, let's be honest, they have no idea what they're doing. They start sailing across the ocean for quite some time until eventually they get out of their boat. They swim down to the ocean floor and place their door. I did not mean to rhyme there, but you know, it sounded cool. They then dig straight down, and now they're right next to an end portal. So the speedrunner turns their blaze rods into blaze powder and makes themselves some Eyes of Ender. They then place in all of their Eyes of Ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they build up to the main island with some wood that they had, and if we pause it right here, we can see that there are 2 ender pearls just randomly laying there on the ground, which I'm gonna be honest is just simply not possible. Where the speedrunner picks up both of the ender pearls and puts them into their hotbar. But wait, by now we should be able to see the ender dragon's health, but we just simply don't see it, which makes me believe that there's just simply no ender dragon in the end. But the reason I'm saying this now and not a little bit later when it's pretty obvious that there's no ender dragon is because the speedrunner looks into the eyes of an enderman and then throws an ender pearl to try to get away from it, and by some miracle the ender pearl lands directly in the middle of the portal, causing them to see the credits. This speedrunner's aim with ender pearls must be absolutely crazy for that to somehow happen. This speedrunner starts in the middle of nowhere, which is usually not the best start for a speedrun. But the speedrunner doesn't care, and they immediately just go over to mine a tree. They take 4 logs from the tree and turn them into planks, and they use those planks to make into a crafting table. The speedrunner then places down their crafting table, makes some sticks, and then makes a sign where they place down the sign and write, "He kinda tastes good" what the? Well, they then begin shaking their head up and down. Even though I'm not gonna lie, this speedrunner is a weirdo. They begin running away from the sign and randomly jump into this lake. They swim around for a little bit until they find this weird hole. And inside the hole is the weirdest things I have ever seen in my entire life. We got a broken portal, tons of random buttons, and Striders in jail. Like, what the heck is going on? The speedrunner goes over to the Striders and then starts punching all of them for literally no reason. They then begin pressing a bunch of random buttons, and then they jump into the portal. Once they're in the end, we can see this very weird path, which I don't think is naturally generated. The speedrunner goes across the path, and eventually they're on the main island. Once there, we can see that there's no Enderman. Not only that, there's no Ender Dragon, but there is a sign that says the Ender Dragon is busy celebrating Christmas. I'm pretty sure we're in July, not December, so this literally makes no sense. Well, the speedrunner ignores that and just jumps into the portal. If you like that video, you're gonna like this video as well, so you should just probably click it.